5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hello and welcome to Truth, Beer, and Podsequences. So this is a podcast where my co-hosts and I listen to all the Cincinnati-based craft beer podcasts from the previous week. We get together at a podcast host. This week we're back at our gracious podcast host, Higher Gravity Summit Park. And you looked at me like, what?
I was just looking at you, yeah.
Yeah, and so hopefully there aren't too many consequences from the host of the other podcasts when we give our version of the truth of how those podcasts went. We are on a streak. Mm-hmm. Might be broken coming up soon. We'll see.
Yeah. Woo. Yeah, but we had a weekend.
Yeah, so, that's the deal. And so welcome. Thank you for all of you who have listened for a long time. For all of you who are first-time listeners, thank you. I am Marco. I'm a taproom manager here locally, and the other voice you heard belongs to the best co-host in Podcastlandia.
I am Julia. I like to drink all of the craft beer and cider and mead and random beverages here in Cincinnati. And I also like to compile lists. And what kind of lists, you might ask? Lists of podcasts we need to talk about, lists of beer events that we need to tell you about. You can find those calendar episodes on Wednesdays, typically. And before we kind of do our little disclaimer about the podcast, I just want to give a huge shout out, since this will come out on Friday, to Marco. Happy birthday.
Well, thank you, Julia. I truly appreciate that. And as this podcast comes out on Friday, I just also wanted to give a huge shout out to you. Happy birthday.
Well, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Hope you're having a great day doing whatever you're doing.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Kind of a little bit of a disclaimer about our podcast. The thoughts, opinions, everything that we express are only our thoughts. They do not reflect any entities we are involved in, employed by, Higher Gravity. So if there's something that upsets you about what we say, come at us. Don't come anywhere else.
Yeah.
Ooh, that was
real.
That was an interesting face. Marco just took a drink of something. This is a craft beer podcast, and it would not be a good one, which I think we're pretty decent. I think we do a decent job.
We're the best podcast that talks about Cincinnati-based craft beer podcast.
That's true.
Thank you for all of you for making us number one in that category.
Week after week. It's fantastic. But we are drinking, I would say craft beer, but it's not. But we each have a craft beverage.
Yeah.
I haven't tried mine yet. So while I try mine, what are you enjoying?
So I'm enjoying.
What are you drinking?
I am drinking Water Melly, which is part of the RG Bevs line of beverages.
Okay.
Yeah.
The RG Bevs.
RG Bevs.
Brand? Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. How is
That's
it?
what I'm having. Yeah, it's part of the brand.
All right.
It's it's watermelon. If you
I was
didn't
just
pick
going to
that
say,
up.
is it Water Melly?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. I just took a sip of, this is a mead, actually, which I don't drink a lot of meads, but I've been eyeballing this for the last couple weeks.
Looks amazing.
It's from Nektar. It's called Black Fang. It has a picture of Nosferatu in like a steampunk-ish hat on the label, which, I mean, it's fantastic. This is a mead with a blackberry, clove, and orange.
All right.
And I get all of that. It is ridiculously well-balanced, and yeah, I'm really glad that I picked this one up.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Fermented honey product.
Mm-hmm. Are you able to do meads, or is that nice? Sure. Nice. Well, you are more than welcome to give that one a try.
Thank you. Are you able to do RG Bevs?
Ooh, it's iffy. It's iffy, but I'm willing to risk it for the podcast.
Okay.
I will see what I think. This week we're going to talk about two podcasts. We actually have 3 of them came out this week, but there was a little. One didn't show up in a podcatcher, so one may have been missed by one of us. So, Craft Parenting Pod, your episode on Triple Digit Imperial Stouts, we will cover next week.
We got you next week.
Because we want to make sure that we both listen and give a proper recap and not just, sure, that sounds right, because that's not fair to anyone.
Right.
So, that being said, the, I guess kind of 2.5 podcasts really this week we're going to talk about are the Brews Travelers Outcast podcast. We finally have a new episode from them, and that was a lot of fun.
Very good.
We have the Cincinnati Brewcast.
We cheers when we mispronounce that.
Cheers.
And good to have. It was a good discussion on that podcast, so we'll get into that in a little bit.
And then a show that was not a show, but always was a show, that is now a podcast in part of the Gnarly Gnome family. We're going to do just a tiny recap of this, as we're recording this, yesterday's Weekly Pint, which is now in podcast form. It is not just a Facebook Live event. So
Right.
we're going to kind of cover some of the main points that were brought up on that. And then kind of as we go further and further down the line, we'll decide if we want to do full recaps of that or if we're just going to keep them little talking points, because it is such a fun time to get together with everyone virtually on a Monday night. We want to encourage that, but if you can't do that, you can now find it on your podcatcher, which is almost as good.
Yeah, it's really cool.
What do you want to start with? Brews Traveler or Gnomeness? I guess Outcast podcast, not necessarily just the Brews Traveler.
Let's cover the Outcast podcast.
Okay.
Let's do that.
All right. This was episode 23, Twitty's Table Tasting in Sharonville, Ohio.
Yeah.
The way that their show normally goes is they go out to a brewery. They brews travel out to a local, sometimes a non-local brewery. They sit down. They try to find someone in the brewery to talk to. They cover aspects of the brewery. What's the aesthetic like? What size is the brewery? Is the tap room? They ask someone from the brewery that they can get to talk to, how many parking spaces do you have, special events, that kind of information. And then they drink a flight or more of the beers from that location. Talk about, tasting notes. They rate them. What would you rate this on Untapped? And it's a really good time. They have a really fun show when they're able to get together and put one together. This one's a little bit different because they were just hanging out playing cards at Twitty's house.
Yeah.
And so
Twitty's table tasting. So
Yes.
everyone got to taste
the table.
the table.
Yeah, so I think the maple was the top.
Uh-huh.
But the mahogany was pretty close runner up.
Yep.
As far as, table tastings go.
Yeah. Somebody found the gum. Somebody found the chewing gum
Someone
under
found
the
the
table.
gum. I was wondering if it was going to happen, and I was
Always.
I would say I wasn't disappointed, but I was kind of
Disappointed!
with the gum aspect of the podcast. The people involved in this episode are Twitty, which I would hope so. They were at his place. That would be a
Right.
little bit awkward if not. The Brews Traveler and Quick Trip. They were playing rummy. Every hand that they played, they drank a new beer.
Yeah.
They do have some kind of special rules that they use in their games that they go over. So if
Yeah,
you
they
want to
get
adopt
into
some
that.
new rules for your card game, great episode to listen to pick up some new tips and tricks and tactics. This is going to be, I guess, a shorter recap because it's just going to be us saying, this is the beer they drank. Did they like it? Did they not like it? And we want you to listen to the episode. That's the whole point of this, is for us to drive interest in listening to these episodes that these other amazing people are putting out. So I'm going to run down the list of the beers that they drank, which it was a very good list.
Good list,
It was
yeah.
a hell of a good list.
Yeah.
So if you are interested in people's opinions on these beers, and in just listening to a group of guys having a really fun time hanging out together, this is a great episode to do that with. From Street Side, they had the Black Cat's Brown Ale. From, I believe it was Blue Stallion Brewery, their Doppelbock. From Ethereal Brewing, this one I couldn't quite tell exactly what the name of the beer was, but they said Operation Secret Santa, Santa's Little Helper Winterbock, which I didn't know what Winterbock was a thing. So I'm not sure if that's just,
why not?
If
I mean,
it's marketing,
you know.
or if it's, yeah, exactly. Why not? I love a good Bock beer, so hell, give me one in winter. Call it a Winterbock.
Yeah.
I'm down for it. Taxman Brewery, their coffee vanilla qualified Belgian quad. Good God, too many Q's.
The Q's.
The Q's and the QU's mess me up. From Mirror Twin Brewing, You and Me, Mr. PB Chocolate Peanut Butter Milk Stout. From one of your favorite breweries, Big Timber OG, an orange guava sour. From Sam Adams, the Coffee Bock, which is coffee aged in...
The beans
of the coffee are aged in Utopia's barrels, and that was what this Bock beer was brewed on. From another one from Mirror Twin Brewing, a cold IPA. I think it was called Ronnie Jam. Oh goodness, I can't read my own handwriting. Ronnie Jams Frio.
Sure.
Close enough.
Yeah.
Close enough. Let's see, Ethereal Brewing.
Unless there was a bean involved in this, frijoles.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Could be. I could be completely messing this up. Listen to this episode and find out how badly I said this beer name. Old Man Mordecai, a milk stout from Ethereal Brewing. And they also had multiple instances where they said their real names.
Yes.
Instead of their Brews Traveler names.
So that's a thing for those of you new to the Brews Travelers Outcast podcast. Everyone has a Brews Traveler name.
Sure. Twitty,
and,
Quick Trip,
yeah.
Chili Pants, Brews Traveler. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when they
say the real name,
they drink.
They have to take a drink.
Which, I mean, they're already doing anyway. So is it really like and I'm using air quotes for those on the live, like a punishment?
They do get upset about it because...
Oh, they do, yeah.
Because they don't want to... It's one of those things where you don't want to break character, right? But the other thing is, hey, I'd rather have my drinks for my intentional drinking rather than my accidental forced drinking.
This is really true. This is very true. They had... I did a real name count to kind of see how many times they kind of messed up a little bit in this way, which, again, we say messed up, but you're still getting to drink, so is it really that bad?
Do you have an imaging? Do you have something to lead into the name count?
I didn't plan that far ahead.
Oh, so. Then I'm... No, what is this one? It's not up.
That's disappointed.
That's what I am.
Oh, you want to be disappointed in the name count?
No, I'm disappointed we didn't have imaging ready to go for the name
Disappointed!
Count.
Well,
Jesus, he's yelling at me. Jesus Christ.
Well, we can't do imaging.
We
can't do imaging anyway. This is a audio only format.
That's what it's called.
So having imaging.
That's what it's called. Welcome to the biz.
Oh, I'm still learning. I'm still new to this.
We're all still learning.
We're all still learning. Anyway, the real name count for episode 23 of the Brews Travelers Outcast podcast. 7 times.
7 times.
7 times you heard someone's actual name.
Yeah.
Instead of their Brews Traveler name.
Yeah.
So, I mean, more than they have in other episodes. But they also went through, as I just mentioned, a ton of beer.
Yeah.
So it's to be expected.
And they do explain, look, it's a beer tasting. After they tasted the table, they tasted the beers.
Yes.
And they have all of those beers cracked open around them, but they're just having tasters.
Right, yeah. It's not like they're crushing, 12 or 16 ounce cans.
It's like 3 or 4 ounces that they have in their glass.
Right.
Right. So at a time. So
I will say at the end of this episode, we learned the truth about a Shift Beer's drunk line call.
Yes, we did.
Yes.
The mystery is solved.
Which it's been a while since we heard that on Shift Beers, or since we really heard any Shift Beers at all.
Yeah, it was a little creepy when we heard it on Shift Beers, though.
Yeah, it was
they were creeped
what
out.
the hell? It was like, who is this? What is
they
going on?
wanted a restraining order, and
I thought they got one.
Yeah. Yeah, it was granted.
Well, now we know who that was granted against.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of all that I had for this episode. I mean, again, it was a lot of fun to listen to. I loved hearing their takes on the different beers that they were drinking, the game, the card game that they were playing. They were giving the points of, Twitty has, this many points, Quick Trip is this and this. It was a lot of fun. It's just not a lot of fun for us to go over each and every beer and they thought this about this one and that about that one.
We'll leave that up to you. But what I will say, as a comment about it, the podcast is really fantastic. It's really cool too that all of them, when they're out, in the wild, they pick up beers specifically to get together to share and do a beer share. Right. And I think that's really, really cool. They have had a beer share episode previously. That was during the. This was a couple of years ago, and so you can imagine just a couple of years ago, what was going on in the world at that point. But they as friends got together and did a beer share.
Yeah.
So I really love that this is a thing that they incorporate into their podcast. So they run around, travel to different breweries, do that, and then every now and then hit a reset button with a beer share. So I think that's really cool.
Agreed. A lot of fun. Definitely check this out. Looks like your glass is getting a bit low, so you want to take a real quick break before we get into Cincy Brewcast?
Yes.
All right. We'll be right back, guys. Marco.
Julia.
We have made it.
Back.
All right.
I don't understand what the gnome has with the problem with the timing. I mean, it's pretty simple. I mean, with leading into that. I don't know. I think it's more of he's got the timing down perfectly.
I agree.
He just
I agree.
wants to mess with us.
He is that kind of guy.
Yeah.
That he's like, I'm just gonna poke a little bit.
Right.
And I'm gonna try to make this more frustrating than it needs to be.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Not frustrating.
Hey, you know what though? At least we can snap.
That's right.
Just saying.
Yeah.
All right, so
and have that friction between his fingers. Let's just move on.
What are you drinking?
I'm having a juicy Improv from Fretboard.
From Fretboard. Excellent. All right, so Cincy Brewcast Season 9, Episode 2, Adena No More. This one was, as you would expect, with Michael, who is soon to be no more Adena Distributing. Very interesting discussion. We just had Michael on our show last week.
We did.
But we don't really talk. We talk shop with him, but not specific business talk with Adena. So,
well, a lot of this podcast also talked just general shop and not a lot of Adena. I mean, Adena.
That is true.
Adena is probably 30% of the podcast, and the rest of it is just shop.
Well, and of that 30%, how much of it is about the changes coming to Adena?
Very low.
Maybe 10% of that 30%.
Yeah.
Still an absolutely, just an amazing conversation. He is such a phenomenal guy, such a great person.
Absolutely.
Love talking to him. I love just like sitting back and listening to him talk with other people. Incredibly passionate about the craft beer world. He knows what he's talking about. And he just has a really great presence behind a microphone when talking about all things, both craft and macro beer, really.
Yeah.
Let's see, what did they kick off this episode with? It was kicked off with Gnome talking about the ratio of the time he spent that week with Michael versus his wife.
Yes, correct.
That was a much bigger ratio, a much different number set than I was expecting to hear. Hopefully he is no longer sleeping in the garage. Remains to be seen. We shall see, or maybe we won't.
Yeah, they had a couple of encounters that week, so that's pretty cool.
They started talking about Listerman Brewing. One of the beers that Michael had for them to share during this podcast was a Listerman beer. And one of the big topic points focused around, should Dan Listerman's image still be on the labels, still be part of that beer, the packaging personality of Listerman beers now that he is officially no longer part of Listerman, even though his name is the brewery, and I don't think that's
his
ever
last
going
name
to change.
is Listerman.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, that's... it is for now, but yeah, certainly that's something that the new ownership can take under consideration anytime they decide to put anything out.
Do you think they will, or do you think that his image is such a part of that brand that it might, I don't want to say it'd be hard to step away from, but it might not...
Well, it's tough, right? Because it was a family business, right? I mean, it was Dan Listerman.
Sure.
And then, the people that he brought on board and the people that executed everything to, from a a standpoint of the tap room, the production, and everything. And I don't know. It's interesting. I'd like to think that the brand can live on, whether or not his image is anywhere on it. It's still his last name.
Do you think there are people out there that are either new to the craft beer world, or maybe they're just not as ingrained in it as we are, that don't even really know who that image represents, and they just think it's just a character?
Sure. I think that's absolutely a possibility.
Yeah. And so in that case, if you're looking at it in that respect, is that image, is that, I'll just say character, is that so much part of the brand that people would notice if suddenly that figure wasn't part of? So not
maybe
every,
or
'cause
maybe
not every release of theirs has.
No, it's not like the
his image.
Fatheads guy.
Right, exactly.
The Fatheads guy is on the can, or
Or
it's
tapped in the bathtub for stuff from Taps.
right. It's I think it's a little bit less emphasized with Listerman, but it's still there. It's still a thing. His face is still painted on the wall in the tap room. To my knowledge, I haven't been there in a while.
My Josh and I went there a couple weeks ago, and it was still there.
Yeah,
Still grinning at us from.
They could certainly lean into it and make him the caricature of the brand.
brewery. Yeah.
But they have their own brewery symbol identity, which is the I don't know,
kettle.
The
It's
kettle.
not- yeah,
it's the
yeah.
kettle, and then the wording around it. But yeah, they could absolutely do that if they wanted to do that. I don't know whether they do or don't want to do it. I don't really know anything about this ownership group. As a tangent that wasn't covered in this episode, and well, let me put it this way. Not a tangent that wasn't covered in this episode. Something that came out on social media after this episode was recorded and before it was released. Some information might be a little outdated. Listerman did post, Listerman Brewing did post that they're looking for a brewer. Now, they didn't say specifically head brewer. They just said brewer.
Brewer, right.
And they're looking for a taproom manager. And they're looking for someone to work, or it sounded like run the homebrew store. So they did touch a little bit on the staff that was there, how Michael believes that there wasn't any changes. Maybe there's not. Maybe they're looking to add.
Exactly.
I don't know. But there is a little bit of, not sure what any of that means, except they're looking for help. And one of the things that I feel with the amount of craft breweries, not just in the greater Cincinnati area, but also the programs that are in place here to help grow the business or the industry itself, as well as how many craft breweries are around the United States. Currently over 10 or 11,000 registered with the CBA, Craft Brewers Association Guild. There's talent that's looking for homes, and so when posts like this come up, or when other breweries locally are looking for help and all of that. Yes, several years ago there was a lot of, oh, this person's leaving this brewery to go there, and this person's leaving this brewery to go there. There was an announcement this past week from a brewery that is in planning and hoping to open soon that, a brewery, a person is running their operation that used to work at Braxton and then, went off and worked somewhere else and all these things. So there is some of that where you slide from one place to another. You hope that also there's a lot of I don't want to call it ladder climbing, but whenever somebody tells me that they're going to leave, because I've been in supervisory positions ever since I've been like 18, and whenever it says somebody's leaving, I always hope it's for a better opportunity or something that is better for them and fits their livelihood in one way, shape, or form, right?
Right.
And so, that being said, I hope that all of those things are net positives for the companies that are hiring those people and the people that are being hired on by those companies.
Right. Agreed 100% on that. Then they moved from there into sort of the main subject of the show, or the main, what the title really hinted at. Adena is, I guess, within the next, I don't know how long this will take, but eventually Adena will be, I'll say no more, but they're not really going to be no more. They're going to be merging with another company, and it's just going to be a reinvention between the two distributors. I almost said two brands, but between the two distributors. The name Adena will no longer exist. Michael will still be a co-owner of part of this new company, or this new
distributorship.
This new opportunity that he's part
Well, I think it's didn't he say it was coming from out of state? It's coming from out of state to be in the market.
In the market, correct. I was going to say it's still in market, but right, the way you worded that's absolutely correct. Didn't mention anything about what the name of the new company is going to be.
No, but you are the queen of screens, I
figured it
may
out.
have sleuthed this one out.
I may have figured this one out. So, Michael, if I am breaking, the secret, if I am taking the wind out of your sails for this announcement, I apologize. But if you look really, really hard at the word Adena, Adena.
Or you just read it.
Yeah. Come on, I'm trying to be a little overly dramatic here.
Oh, okay, my apologies.
Let me have my moment. If you do that backwards, so Adena Distributing, backwards, that's ANEDA Distributing. And that old joke, Anita this, Anita that, Anita beer. I need a distributor.
Yeah.
Boom. There you go. Anita. That is Anita Distributing Company. That is the new venture.
Print the shirts.
Print it out. I don't know. I'm guessing that the logo still won't be the freaking amazing turtle that.
No, they're going to turn it upside down.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's going to be an upside down turtle.
Damn. I didn't even catch that one. Good job.
Yeah.
Good job.
The Brewers Association upside down bottle.
Perfect. Perfect. Kind of like the turtle doing a keg stand, maybe even.
Yeah.
That would be even better. Michael will look for those shirts coming soon. Yeah. Then they start talking about kind of Adena's history and some of the things that made Adena who they were from the very beginning with Wooden Cask up through some of the absolutely amazing brands that they are distributing today. They had to bring up St. Arnulf's, which...
Oh, yeah, Jesus.
Oh, my God. I had a couple of those beers, and I agree with what Michael was saying. There was one that was actually good. Thinking back on it and what I know now about craft beer and what I knew then, was it really all that great? Probably not, but it was not bad. And then there were others that were just like, oh, this, I'm glad I only bought a single.
I don't know how much context we need to give our listeners on that. I mean, you can listen to the pod and find out a little bit about it.
Correct.
And then from the name of that brewery, if you still are not certain what they're talking about, just look it up.
Yes,
and
it is an amazing,
it's
terrible story.
Quite the
roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
Well, no, that would indicate roller coaster ride that there's some excitement and some positives, and this was just flat out fraud.
Somebody was a grifter. I'm just going to put it that way.
Yes. Let's see what else. This was something that I thought was kind of neat. It felt like when they were talking about starting the distributorship, I guess that's kind of proper term.
Yes.
They kind of started with the same mindset as they would have if they were opening up as a small brewery and not necessarily a distributor type mindset. And because I'm not really involved with either of those industries, it's hard for me to...
When are you going to be, by the way?
Yeah, if it pays right, we'll see.
I guess not then.
It all comes down to the money.
Guess not.
I got bills to pay, man.
That's why we're still doing this podcast.
It absolutely
because of all
is.
the money.
Yeah, that we're just rolling.
Oh,
in.
just my goodness.
Oh my gosh, we are.
Like Scrooge McDuck, just
I'm telling
swimming in it.
Diving into coins would be a really bad idea.
Yeah, I don't know why
Just-
that. I mean, they're gold coins though, but yeah, it's still a bad idea.
Still, terrible idea. But I thought that
Try
was a
it.
really neat conversation about kind of the mindset when they were opening up, and just a really cool kind of behind the curtain view of the goals and the ambitions, and we can't just start with unlimited funds. We have to start doing it this way, but we still want to start it the right way.
Right.
Really, really cool. They talked about some of the breweries that they have brought in, from Connecticut Valley to Untitled Art, Illuminated Brewworks, Pipeworks. There have been some absolutely ridiculous beers brought into the Cincinnati area,
Yeah,
to our
great stuff.
marketplace, that I don't know if it ever would have happened without Adena.
And they go into they go into a couple of hypotheticals, which is pretty cool. Go listen to the pod to find out, what the hypothetical questions are. The breweries that Michael talked about, which created almost benchmarks for the company.
Yeah.
He talks a little bit about how important that timing was as well.
Agreed. I mean, if they would have tried to start a year, 2 years before or after they did, I and they don't know if it really would have worked out at all.
Well, it wouldn't have worked this way. And
True,
because
true.
there
Yes,
was
yes.
just a lot of timing involved.
Yep, 100%. They talked a bit about, well, not a bit, they actually had a pretty good length discussion about, has craft beer innovation stalled? And the Husky behind me has a lot of opinions on this.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to give them their moment on mic.
Yeah, and we also are looking at the clock too, because we're trying to be better about some things, and structure is a little bit of it.
Yes.
At least today.
Yes.
We'll see. But
Yeah,
anyways,
has innovation stalled, and can breweries try too hard and put too much of their own spin on a beer or a beer style?
right. So has innovation stalled, or do
Is it
they
too
just
much?
do they just want breweries to, hey, make what you make, be good, and
I mean, they're putting
Really-
out cereal milk beers if you listen or even watch the video on YouTube. Yeah.
yeah, they're. I think mixed in the message is, hey, if you're going to make something, make it the best you can make it. And if it's as simple as lager or a Pilsner, not lager is a bad example. If it's as simple as Pilsner, make it the best you can make it.
Sure.
And then if you want to experiment or try, go into it, do it. But on this, it's so hard to quantify the discussion. Go listen to the discussion. The other thing is too, I actually had this discussion with somebody yesterday, from a homebrew standpoint and from a commercial brewing standpoint. The past 5 years and the next 5 years are gonna have the whole industry make huge leaps and changes to things that are fundamental in this industry, the way that we've approached them.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
And so I definitely think that if breweries aren't closed-minded and are open to the advancements in the malts, the advancements in the yeast, the advancements in the hop products, if they embrace and lean into those things, we're going to see a lot of things actually from a production standpoint change.
I think you already are. I think you're already starting to see that. It
Yeah.
just isn't it hasn't hit that like explosive rate or visibility that you saw with the adjuncting everything stouts and the the you can't see through them thick as hell IPAs. They talked about the IPA spectrum out there and all that, right?
I think it's
starting.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff that's going to come out over the next few years where from a production standpoint, I mean, one of the things that comes to mind is the Samuel Adams, the refresh, the
remastering of Boston Lager.
Of Boston Lager. I mean, you're going to be able to, with a combination of ingredients and the way things are handled, you're going to be able to shorten mash times. You're going to be able to shorten boil times. You're going to be able to shorten fermentation times. You're going to be able to have less waste from the way that you're utilizing or the hop that you choose to get, the flavors
Will
that
decoction
you get.
be a thing of the past?
Don't at me.
You can at me. It's fine.
Don't at me about decoction. It's not necessary. But anyways, a lot of things I think are on the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and you can also find out in this episode that the true origin of paprika is New Mexico.
Yeah, that was an interesting conversation.
That was really cool.
Paprika is just ground red bell pepper.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think they made it more salacious. And also the tomato revelation.
Yeah,
and
no
by the way,
learned some stuff about food.
Yeah, there's a tomato revelation in here. I'm not joking.
No,
there's a tomato revelation in this podcast.
You never know what you're going to get when you talk
You
with
never
Michael.
know.
So awesome. That's kind of all that I had for this episode of, let's do it, the Cincinnati Brewcast.
All right. Well, then let's move on.
Yeah, so the last thing that we wanted to talk about, because again, I forgot to listen to Craft Parenting. I thought that I had it queued up, and I didn't. So we'll cover that next week. But the last thing that we wanted to talk about was just a couple of minutes, maybe not even that, on the Weekly Pint, which is another one of the Gnarly Gnomes shows. It used to be just an unofficial, the show that's not a show. It was a Facebook, I say Facebook Live, but he also had it streaming on Twitch, YouTube,
OnlyFans.
his OnlyFans page, right? But you got to pay for that, so I wasn't about to shell out the money for that one.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I did
Okay.
not. No.
I'm going to stop then.
Oh, okay. I mean, unless he's showing you his feet during it, then I'll consider it. But
Okay, then
if
I
you
won't
get
stop.
he has the secondary camera, Anyway, this is why we can't have nice things.
It's terrible.
But he is making it.
Got a lot of fruit next to him. It's so weird.
Oh, the fruit! I'm never going to be able to get past that. It's PTSD. It's just gonna.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's
Too many conversations.
So bad.
It was originally a not a show, just kind of a really casual, low key thing during COVID, where he did a live video feed where you could chime in on chat, and just like everyone had a beer virtually together. He continued it, and now because he's already recording it, it already posts to YouTube and Facebook, and I believe Twitch when the actual live interactions are done. He thought, why not just go ahead and also cut that audio and make it its own podcast as well, so you can listen to it. It's an absolutely amazing time. I strongly recommend joining the live if you can. Monday nights, typically around 9:30. But if you can't, listen to this newest podcast that he's putting out, because it's always a really great conversation.
Or change your schedule. What the F you doing?
Yeah, I do.
At that time of night.
I do all the time, yeah. But
yes,
what were some of the things that we all talked about this week? Oh, the deer in the headlights line.
So
there was some non-alcoholic talk.
Yeah.
There was some talk about Fretboard's new Flight. Or no, not Flight, Light. I'm sorry, I was thinking of the other brand.
Other brand.
That may have an issue with Light.
Yeah.
Their new 15 and 24 pack American Lager, which I'm like, why not a 30 rack? Come on, guys, you're disappointing me.
I find it weird what the numbers between 15 and 24. Mm-hmm. It's just interesting.
It's 15 and 30 makes sense.
Yeah.
15 and 24. Okay.
Is that to keep it under a certain price point?
I don't know. Maybe that is. But we don't know the price point yet, right?
No.
Yeah.
Not really.
There was something
Give me
else.
a cube of fucking beer is what I want.
Who doesn't want a cube of beer?
A 24 suitcase. I get. It's.
Yes.
You mean it's two 12 packs. But how about a cube? Mm-hmm. Give me a nice cube of beer.
Cube. It fits in the fridge so much nicer.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else was there on this episode of the Weekly Pint?
Don't fucking remember.
I was going to say there was one other thing that I meant to bring up but it's fun. Listen to it. Subscribe to the podcast. If you just for whatever reason
call into
absolutely
it.
cannot, you can call in.
You engage with people in the chat.
Yes. It's a lot of fun. And just listening to it as a podcast, you're not going to have that same amount of fun and engagement. You're not going to feel as part
there's
of the
not
conversation.
any of it.
All you're going to do is hear Gnome talk about like reading out our comments and responding to them, or if someone calls in, you'll hear that. But it is so much fun to just be hanging out with everyone and just having a beer together on a Monday night. It's great. But that is something that, because it is a podcast, if it's something where he covers a lot of beer-related stuff, there have been some weeks where it's been all talk about, like, cocktails. So
right.
if it's something that falls under
or him
our
going
wheelhouse,
camping,
or him going camping in his parents' backyard or his in-laws' backyard.
In-laws' backyard.
Yeah. Not really camping if you just like go to bed in the spare bedroom at night.
Yeah.
He's not pitching anything. That was no.
I'm gonna leave it.
Damn
alone.
it.
I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm not gonna do it.
But we are going to start.
Joke there.
Thank you.
I'm not gonna call. I'm not gonna do it.
But you just did it.
No.
So we want you to engage with the Weekly Pint, but because it is now podcast format, we're going to touch on it. Oh, God damn it. I give up. We will talk about it, but probably not like full recap like we do Cincy Brewcast.
What are you doing next week, Julia? No,
Jeez.
let's do the other thing.
Yeah. So to try and wrap this all together, because we have other things we need to get done tonight.
Said she was going to touch it.
I regret everything. I regret absolutely everything. If you liked what we did tonight, please let us know. Follow us on social media. We are everywhere at Truth Beer Pod. Give us a like, share, review, subscribe, 5 stars, all that good stuff. Most importantly, tell a friend, a family member, doctor. I told my nurse about it, and she ended up telling my doctor and his assistant about our show.
Yeah, regular at the place that I work.
It's absolutely
Listen.
amazing. Yeah, so just tell people about it if you like what we're doing. We just want to help you learn more about the Cincinnati craft beer podcasts that are out there.
And hopefully you have a little fun listening to us when you do.
God, I hope so. If you would like to send us an email about anything, including beer events happening or anything that's longer than what you want to put on a social media comment, our email address is truthbeerpod@gmail.com. If you have any complaints about the show, send those to @RagingHop on Twitter. He will... I guess he's not going to let us know about them because he hasn't told us about any in a long time.
He'll let us know.
Okay, all right. Cool.
Yeah.
I actually kind of look forward to that. And if you would like to send us a couple bucks so that we can buy some more beer, maybe figure out some better way to do video for everyone, go to our website, truthbeerpod.com. There are some links up at the top of the page. There's like a one-time donation link, or you can become a Patreon member and get some exclusive content when we get around to doing it.
So the other thing is with sending us money, I just want everyone to know, and the money absolutely helps, and thank you for everyone who does that and subscribes and send us money on a one-off basis or a regular basis. We couldn't do this without the support of the community, and it's the community that listens as well as the community that we talk about. Mm-hmm. Yes, that money can go to upgrading equipment. It can go to as simple as paying for a round of beers here, but
or web hosting fees,
podcast posting fees. But we also have from time to time committed to charitable aspects. Mm-hmm. And so I just want you to know, I'm not going to name what they are. I'm not going to tell you what we do or how much we've done. And
if you do want to know so that you have transparency, we are more than happy to let you know, but we don't feel like we need to publicly say, look at me, look at what we're doing. So.
Right. Now, and that could be a fault of ours. If we said, hey, we're going to donate to this particular charitable, endeavor, if that prompted you to give us a couple more bucks, thank you. You could have also just donated to that particular charitable endeavor. But yes, we have in the past been charitable, and we plan on in the future continuing to be charitable. So please, if you feel moved in that way, please do send us some bucks so that we can, put all this together in the fashion that we do. And no, none of us are Scrooge McDuck swimming in gold coins off of this podcast. It is a true passion project for us. And so, thank you to everybody. And I truly appreciate everything from your listenership and the actions, the comments, as well as sharing our podcast with friends, family members, and people that you interact with. So please continue to do that.
With that being said, Marco,
Julia,
what are you going to be doing next week?
hopefully this next week here. Cheers.
I'll
And
see
happy
you.
birthday, Julia.
Happy birthday, Marco.
Thank you.
Have a great one, guys. See you next week. Still can't believe you didn't give me a birthday present.